Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Today's podcast is sponsored by SLI Systems, providers of intelligent site search and navigation solutions. Learn more at sli-systems.com and listen to their interviews at ecommercepodcast.com. Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a weekly podcast focusing on e-commerce topics featuring interviews with prominent people in the e-commerce space. This week, practical e-commerce publisher Carrie Murdoch speaks with Michael Stebbins, CEO and co-founder of MarketMotive.
Well, welcome to another edition of E-Commerce Conversations by Practical E-Commerce. My name is Carrie Murdoch. I'm the publisher of Practical E-Commerce, and we're joined today by Michael Stebbins. Mr. Stebbins is CEO and co-founder of MarketMotive. Mr. Stebbins, welcome today.
Oh, thank you, Carrie.
Tell us exactly what is MarketMotive.
Well, MarketMotive is what we think is a new way to get online marketing expertise to the people who need it. It's difficult to afford to fly out to every conference, and even if they can, it's next to impossible to book or afford top-name consultants. So we found a way to get the sessions and the access to the consultants to our members for a monthly fee of $299. So a typical scenario would be that a member logs into MarketMotive and sees a list of video training sessions, much like the ones that you would attend at a conference. And each one is topical, and we hope it's timely and relevant, and it's taught by a leading name in the field, a top consultant or author. And then after viewing the video, you can either post a question for the consultant in that area or call in to discuss your strategy with them.
Give us an idea of the topics, some of the topics that you cover as it relates to e-commerce merchants in particular.
Sure. One of the most important would be conversion optimization. It's making sure that people make it all the way through your shopping cart and finding out why they don't, and making sure that you provide a clear and common scent all the way from your online presence and advertising to conversion. We have Greg Jarboe and Jamie O'Donnell covering online publicity, which is a great way to get links back to your site and get some good traffic. Alan Rim Kaufman covers paid search and PPC, so AdWords strategies. Matt Bailey covers social media marketing and how to take advantage of the current buzz there. Avinash Kaushik covers web analytics, and Todd Malakote is our resident faculty for search engine optimization.
Wow, that's impressive. Is there a typical scenario that an e-commerce merchant, when they approach you, a typical need that they have?
Most merchants want to get as many dollars through their store as they can, and whether they have a brick-and-mortar background or whether they're starting out with an online presence, we all wonder if we're getting our online marketing right. Oftentimes there's a need for a place to go where you can ask a question and get an authoritative answer or piece of advice. Typical questions that we get tend to relate to traffic and conversion. We all know that those need to come together, and that many merchants have one but not the other. So you might have an excellent conversion on your store but not have the traffic, or you might have great traffic but maybe your conversion rate is maybe less than 0.5%. And so the first thing that we encourage site owners to do is look at their web analytics data and determine the traffic sources, where the visitors are coming from, and maybe look at why they're leaving the site. Then you also want to figure out which type of visitor is converting. And once you identify the path for converting traffic, you have the opportunity to build that source and increase overall sales.
Analytics, I know, is one of the areas of expertise that you just mentioned that you offer. One of the questions we get here frequently at the magazine involves Google Analytics. a myriad of different questions on Google Analytics, most of which having to do with its complexity. A lot of small merchants we find have a hard time implementing Google Analytics. Do you find this to be true? Are there other options for them? If they want to use Google Analytics, can your firm help them with that?
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, Google Analytics is it's pretty good, Carrie. It's got an interface that makes sense, and I think given the massive use that it has and the push that Google's put behind it, it's not a bad entry-level web analytics tool for an e-commerce site. The integration with revenue events on a site is pretty good and fairly straightforward. I would think in any case you're going to need to ask your webmaster to help with the implementation. And forgive me if I've got them mixed up, but I think this is what's covered in the upcoming column that is coming up in the Practical E-commerce about web analytics. It describes some of the situation of coverage and how to make sure that you're getting every page covered by your web analytics tool. But more important than the web analytics tool that you use is your approach and your commitment to using it. I and the other founders of MarketMotive have prior associations with various tools. But now that we are not really tied to any particular tool, it's easy for us to recommend a tool like ClickTracks or Google Analytics or Omniture or Website Story or Index Tools, which has now just recently been acquired by Yahoo. And all of these tools offer great insight into what's going on with your site, but the key to getting the benefits out of them is that once implemented properly, is a three-step process that I also covered in a column inside of Practical E-commerce, which is that you want to formulate a question ahead of time before you approach your web analytics tool and then work to get your answer out of the tool and then act on that answer. And if you take that approach to web analytics, it becomes much less confusing and much more useful in impacting the bottom line of your business.
I should say also for our listeners that Mr. Stebbins is a contributor and columnist for us. He writes our web analytics column every month, and we thank you for doing that.
I absolutely enjoy it.
One of the other questions we hear, Michael, has to do with search engine friendliness of shopping carts. We're not necessarily search engine optimization experts here, but we do field a fair number of questions from merchants asking us if their cart is SEO friendly. How would you answer that question if a merchant were to ask you, I'm using a certain cart and my products aren't showing up very high on search engine rankings?
Well, first off, it's a great question and a very, very important one. Any page that you want the search engines to list needs to expose the relevant content in a way that not only the search engine will understand, but you want your visitors to understand too, and that's a balance that takes time and a lot of energy to have happen. But what it really drills down to is that things like the page title, the meta descriptions, and the page content need to reflect the words and the phrases that appeal to the engines, and that the URL structure and the internal links adhere to a standard that makes sense to the search engines. Most of the shopping carts that are out there right now offer some level of search engine optimization capabilities, and if they don't offer it directly, there's a plugin that goes into it that allows you to get very close to what you need. But the first step, I think, would be to take an audit of your product pages and your home page and make sure that they're representing proper keywords. I'd say the most important thing would be the title tag of the page. Of course, what you see in the upper left-hand corner of the little window that opens up, that contains your keywords, and that your shopping cart system allows you to put the relevant keywords up there. It's one of the first things that the search engines look for.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation. Do you have anything else you'd like to offer to our listeners, which are e-commerce merchants, primarily smaller e-commerce merchants, as it relates to MarketMotive?
Is this where I get to pitch our services, Kerry?
You can indeed. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Actually, it's interesting because I'd say MarketMotive isn't for everyone. It benefits merchants who are making a significant investment in getting traffic that converts. So if you've considered hiring a consultant but found it a little bit expensive, or if you've tried to get out to some of the better conferences and found it difficult, then a month-to-month membership in MarketMotive can help. But I'd say even if you don't use MarketMotive, I've got to tell you that there's just no way a merchant can keep up on online marketing without some type of help. I know I'm in the same boat myself, actually.
Okay. Well, the site is MarketMotive.com, and Michael Stebbins, CEO and co-founder of MarketMotive, we thank you for your time today.
Thanks for the call, Kerry.
That's all the time we have for this week's e-commerce conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tune in next week for another new episode.